LSU at Clemson, week 1, baby. Death Valley, South Carolina, I should say. Primetime, night game, Fowler and Herbstreit on the call. We are previewing it. We are predicting it. With that being said, my prediction is strictly an opinion. Not an expert, not a Vegas insider, just someone who loves ball, want to talk about it. Through my preview, I'll give you at least a little bit of things I'm looking for. Hopefully that'll kind of back my prediction opinion. If you disagree with it, totally fine, totally valid. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Let's dive in, friends. Let's start with the Clemson Tigers, okay? I put some keys that I'm watching for Clemson, and I want to start with their offense. Now, we all know Cade Klubnik. The development from year 1 to year 2 was remarkable. Year 1 was a little bit of a head scratch. We saw the potential, but it wasn't the best. A lot of that, to me, fell on Garrett Riley. There was zero cohesion, zero chemistry in this offense. They really weren't consistent. Last year was leaps and bounds better. Top 20 offense. We now get a third year. The chemistry has grown even stronger, and the receiver room is no longer the biggest question mark. Okay? Wesco, Williams, and TJ Moore. Those guys are going to be big in this game. I look for all 3 of them to make plays. Against an LSU secondary that still has a lot to prove, how effective can those guys be? Now, the second part to that is Clemson's run game. How effective can the run game be? Gideon Davidson's going to have a lot of pressure on him in this game. Now, he's going to be, in my opinion, the workhorse back for Clemson. Can the run game exist against a very physical defensive line for the LSU Tigers? Clemson's got to be able to run the football. Now, LSU, Blake Baker, they love to play that vertical gap, that kind of like one gap defense. Every gap's going to be filled. How effective and really how well does Clemson's offensive line communicate? The run protection, right? The schemes, they have to be intact. Clemson has to put a body on a body. I think Gideon Davidson's going to have to break some tackles, make some plays. They're going to have to be able to pick up yards on the ground. Clemson has struggled running the ball against bigger, more physical teams. What can they do? If that is effective, how much pressure does that take off of Cade Klubnik? How much chaos does that, I guess, not create? And does that allow him and those receivers to just pick LSU apart all night? We're going to watch for it. That's what I'm curious to see. Now, Clemson's defense, led by Tom Allen, loved the hire. Loved what he did at Penn State. Loved his time at Indiana. He's now the new defensive coordinator. This unit is stacked, man. 4-2-5 concept. This D-line might be dominant. And the reason I want to watch this, and I think that's the key to this game, is because if Clemson's defensive line can really halter LSU's run game, how easy does that allow Clemson to sit really in a cover 3, cover 4 quarters concept all game long and let nothing beat them deep? We know LSU has speed out wide. Again, if those 4 down linemen can stuff the run and Clemson doesn't have to load the box all night long, they can sit in coverage. They can give up stuff underneath, but they can eliminate the big plays. That's huge. That's something I'm watching for. A lot of it weighs on those guys, right? Obviously, we know about TJ Parker, Peter Woods. K-Part's a big one to watch. How well do those guys play? The other 2 players and the keys of this defense, Avion Terrell in the secondary. Who does he match up against? He's a physical, fast, young, no, I guess not young, so to speak, anymore, but still probably the best corner on this football team, one of the best in the country. Who does he follow around, if he does follow anyone around? What do the matchups look like for him? What do the coverages look like? I'm also looking for Wade Woodaz. Curious to see how he plays in terms of filling the run gaps. Just so much to watch for on that Clemson defense. Now, let's move to LSU, and let's start with the offense, okay? Garrett Nussmeier, friends. We know the potential that Garrett Nussmeier has. Could be an NFL draft pick next year. The biggest thing I'm looking for is not Garrett Nussmeier to come out and throw for 500 yards. I don't think he needs to do that. But how well does Caden Durham play? LSU's offensive line goes out and gets Braylon Moore. They get Josh Thompson. They get some studs. They've built an offensive line that I think will be better than last year's. Now, last year's offensive line, to me, let him down a little bit. 7 sacks in the Florida game, a lot of multi-sack games scattered in throughout that schedule. So how much better can that offensive line be this year? If Garrett Nussmeier has time to get to his second, third read, how much can he pick Clemson apart? Caden Durham, again, back to that run game. If that offensive line can move the football on the ground, that takes a lot of pressure off. There's no better way to quiet a crowd, quiet the nerves, quiet the pressure, than effectively run the ball. If they can keep ahead of the chains, right? Not third and longs where the blitzes are coming and sacks and turnovers and all those things are created. If they can stay ahead of the chains, find at least 3, 4, 5 yards of carry, that's going to be big for that LSU offense. Speed out wide. They have loads of speed. I mean, just to mention a couple, Aaron Anderson, Chris Hilton, Nick Anderson, Barry and Brown. That wide receiver room is loaded. Again, the more effective LSU runs the ball, the more impact I think those guys have on the game. Ironically enough, yes, that is what I'm thinking for that LSU offense. Look, they will score points. But the question is it all through the air? And does Nussmeier have to come out and have a Heisman night? Or is it just a methodical, effective, long, sustained drives? That's what I want to see from that LSU offense. Now, let's move to the LSU defense. I think this is the shining star for them. All right, Blake Baker, defense coordinator, love him. 4-2-5 type of concept, but he loves that star position, and Harold Perkins is the best guy to have at that position. He can do it all. He can cover. He can fill gaps. He can hit. He has a great football instinct, great mind. I look for Harold Perkins as my X factor. I think he could have an interception, force a fumble. I think he's the type of guy that can run with his head off and make a play for you. Really, really watching him. How does Blake Baker use him and utilize him to create chaos for Cade Klubnik, disguise coverages, all that good stuff. The defensive line, very talented. They add talent. Jack Pyburn comes in. Patrick Payton comes in. They got dudes, they got size, and they have speed on the edges. If they can stop that Clemson run game, it will be a long night for the Clemson Tigers. All right. And lastly, the secondary for me is something that's going to be big to watch. Mansour Delane, Jordan Gilbert, some of those guys, they're going to have a huge night. Tamarcus Cooley comes in. He's going to add depth to that secondary. How well does that secondary play against Clemson's speed? Now, excuse me. Didn't mean to hit the mic there. I'm getting too excited. But that's really the question on the LSU defense. Okay. Let's get to the prediction. The line sits at -3.5 favored towards the Clemson Tigers. A lot of that, I think, has Clemson home field advantage kind of poured into that. Man, what a tough game. I think this is a coin toss football game. If we played this thing 10 times, I truly think it's either 5-5 or 6-4, one way or the other. I'm someone that just thinks Clemson has severely underperformed against SEC teams as of late. Now, 2018, 2019, Clemson, against anybody in the country at home, I'm taking them. This year, I'm a bit nervous for that. Last year against Georgia, I thought we'd have a better game week 1. They got blown out of the stadium. Now, yes, it was a neutral site, but the physical difference between those two teams, regardless of where that game was played, was very evident. Now, this year, Clemson is going to be better, without a doubt. I do think they will be a better team. However, I think LSU gets over the week 1 curse. Notice I didn't mention that too much. I didn't want to jinx anything. I'm taking LSU to win this game. I think the Tigers of LSU come in, settle the nerves, they get into a rhythm. I think Garrett Nussmeier has a consistent performance. I think there's going to be turnovers, mistakes, all of that. I think they lean on their physicality and a little bit of that fire from last year, okay? The week 1 curse, the jinx, the nerves, all of it. I think LSU rounds it up, bottles it up, and wins this football game on the road against the Tigers of Clemson. That's all I got, friends. Hope you enjoy. Again, so stoked for this game. I could see it really going either way. I'm not even touching that line. That's an interesting line, but appreciate you guys, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.